Right. Good evening. I need a motion to call our public session into order.
Motion?
Motion Kelly, second Tom. Discussion? All in favor? Okay, I'm going to ask everyone to please rise for pledge. All right. Just want to say everybody knows where they were 24 years ago today. It's always going to be fresh in our minds. And I hope that we can find some of the strength and unity we found after that tragedy as now. Okay, moving on with our meeting tonight. Some correspondence that we received from since the last meeting. A lot of this we will be addressing later on in the meeting. We had an email regarding safety concerns and on our report. Some questions about the kindergarten orientation, and we had an acknowledgement and a thank you regarding the return of our aides for the kindergartens into the classrooms. We had some questions about building use. And we were invited to the pep rally and the homecoming. Hope to see, I'm going to be attending the pep rally. I will be away for homecoming. I don't know about everybody else. And also a question about how we were going to recognize 9/11 at the meeting tonight, which we just did. Okay, turning it over, Superintendent of Schools.
Hi, good evening, everyone. Welcome to our board meeting. Thank you to those of you who are here with us in person, as well as those who are watching from home. We had a very exciting week, a very successful week, 2 weeks of school so far. So we're going to go through a couple of different things. We're going to just do a little quick jaunt around the district about what was going on. We're going to review the communication protocol that was sent home to all families so that we could best support our families in getting what they need as quick as possible. We are going to do a safety and security update. I know with a lot of the items in the news, we want to make sure that our families know how serious we take security and safety. And so we're going to hear from our director of security as well as the company that services our district. We're also going to just re-recognize the high school because we did so in the summer, but now that everyone's around, we want to make sure we recognize the high school for their recognition that we'll talk about in a bit, highlight the color run, review some Board of Education goals with our cabinet, and then topics for board meetings for the remainder of the school year. So let's get started. So we started on September 2nd and 3rd with our faculty and staff. We opened with a meeting in the middle school with all of our faculty just to welcome everyone back and set the tone and the frame for the year, which is on caring and learning and making sure that we're always aiming for our goals together. And our goals are really about caring about our students and supporting them in their learning. And then they broke off into faculty meetings with their principals and then department and grade level meetings over 2 days, also getting ready with technology, getting classrooms ready, setting up a whole host of things, trainings for our staff as we prepared for the school year. We also had a strong full day training for our security team, our entire security team that was run by Covert Security, which you'll hear about in a little bit. It was just a really successful 2 days of getting ready for school. And then we had the first day of school. And I just want to say that it was really wonderful to get into all of the classrooms and all of the buildings over the last 2 weeks. Every building was just joyful and happy. We had parties at the elementary schools where kids were kind of meeting their mascots, whether it was Sonny the Duck or Lincoln the Lion or Lightning the Lion or the Fox. His name is Flash, thank you very much. And then at the middle school and high school, people welcoming the students for a new experience with the cell phone ban. So far, we're walking around the buildings. It seems really nice. Kids are in class. They're engaged. They've always been engaged in class because phones were never allowed in classes. They had to put them on a caddy. But now we're seeing kids walking and talking to each other, making eye contact in the hallways, and playing fun games at lunch, whether it's foosball or throwing beanbag toss games. And it's just really nice to see. I also was in the main office today and saw a student who wanted to call their parent. They went right in, said they needed to call their mom about an issue. The kid went in, made the call, arranged something, and then left. And it just seemed to work perfectly fine. And we just seem really happy with that. So a lot of smiling faces. I see one of our students is in the audience. You're up on the screen there, my friend. And you were the first. I want to. Liam, I want to thank you because you were the first student in the high school to greet me. You came right up and shook my hand, so there it is. And I appreciated a healthy, happy hello from you to start the school year. So you're welcome. So it was really just joyful. And then this week was around the schools, just getting into classrooms and really starting to see kids digging into learning. A lot of small group instruction at the elementary schools, a lot of group work at the middle school, and a lot of really hands-on learning experiences going on. I saw a fantastic geometry lesson started at the high school today. Just really on all levels, high quality instruction. So I just want to thank our faculty, our staff, our principals, our cabinet team, and our families for helping with that. We did have a little bit of a busing issue in the beginning of the first 2 days at the elementary schools. We had some late buses. Some of it was just kindergartners needing extra time to figure out how to get on the bus, get buckled in, and then get home. But we also had at the high school, a student got on the wrong bus, so we took him home first and then went to the middle elementary school. So the buses were late that day. We've rerouted that, and we think we've solved those problems. So we're up and running. So thank you for your patience to those families who had a couple late buses on the first 2 days. And I want to just turn it over to our student representative, Mr. Artusa. Do you just want to give a little, talk about how things went at the high school and in the district from a student perspective?
So I guess fortunately, I don't really have much to say. I guess because last year we were already used to putting them in the pockets already. It really wasn't like a huge adjustment. I asked a lot of my friends, a lot of people I know. The prevailing sentiment was that it's not really a big deal. Like nobody's too upset about it. There's just some minor annoyances. Like for me, my sister, I don't know if she has to go to tennis practice one day or not. So if I have to drive her home, I just have to wait until the end of that period. But really, that's all I have to say. It's been smooth. It hasn't really caused any problems.
Well, glad to hear it.
Thank you. All right. And just for those of you at home or in the audience, we do have a communication protocol which we put out this summer at the end of the summer just to help parents. This is not to avoid having you talk to me or to any of my cabinet members. It's really about how do you get the fastest information and the fastest resolution and solution to a problem. And really, we feel the most effective way to resolve a problem, if you're feeling like something's going on or you need information, is go right to the source. So start with the teacher or the original source where you might get the information or have the issue, and that person is the most capable of solving it because they're in it with you and your child. If you're not satisfied, though, the next step would be a chairperson, guidance counselor, social worker, school psychologist, or if it's a sports related item, the athletic director, if it's related to a coach. But again, talk to the coach or the teacher first, then we go to the next step in the process. If you're still feeling like things aren't the way you need it to be, we have assistant principals and principals at the secondary or the principal at the elementary. And we also have, if it's a special education or 504 related item, we have the director or assistant director of special education. And then, of course, any of us here at central office really want to help you. Ms. DiMiola for an instructional purpose, Ms. Macris for a PPS issue, Mr. Bartels for a finance issue, Ms. Watson for a personnel matter. And this really goes for anybody in the community, whether it's a parent, student, or a staff member. This is the chain of command to follow before you get to me and or Facebook, because if you go to Facebook first, you'll get a lot of stuff, but it might not be the best stuff to get you where you need to go to get the problem solved. So we really are just asking everybody, and we're going to keep redirecting people to start with the source, because the source is where the solution lies. Because if you call me, I'm just going to have to call the principal, who then has to call the chairperson, who then has to call the teacher, to then call you to then solve the problem. So that's just a little helpful direction, and we hope that this helps with efficiency and getting everybody what they need, because again, we care deeply about your kids. We don't want you or your children or staff members or anyone to be upset for a very long period of time. We want it to be resolved as quickly as possible. Okay, the other thing that I think is on people's mind is safety and security, because we want to make sure that we have what we need and that our kids are in a secure and safe environment. So I want to introduce our head of security, Mr. Ellerbaum, and our covert security chief, Mr. Flynn.
Good evening, everyone. First, I'd like to thank the board for doing the walkthrough the other day and allowing me to accompany you on it and asking what security needs. The district has recently hired 3 new guards. All of them have prior law enforcement experience, and they have between 20 to 35 years experience. So that's a lot of experience that we have, and the city's loss is our gain. Recently, I was able to meet with Mr. Miola and all the new teachers that were assigned to the district. So while we were there, we discussed classroom security, doors being closed, in a locked position. We discussed becoming familiar with emergency routes and exits within the building, know the location of AEDs, know the location of first aid kits, become familiar with the protocols in the building for lockdowns, fire drills, secure lockout procedures. Also, know your designated location outside of the building in an emergency, where you should be going. And they also all enrolled in RAVE Act. Prior to the start of the year, we conducted, like Dr. Perry said, a 4-hour training. There's another part that will happen too, an additional 4 hours. During this class, we discussed elopement, we discussed violence prevention, mental health awareness, and de-escalation. After the next class, all the guards are going to be certified in CPR, AED, and first aid. The district was enrolled just at the end of the year last year in the SAVE hotline with the Suffolk County Police Department. So all those lines have been tested prior to the start of the school year. The district was also in the SHARE program with the police department, and that was also tested. If you're not familiar with the SHARE program, it's the video surveillance that we have, the video monitoring system. I'd also like to thank Dr. Cox for sitting down with me back in August. He sat down and helped take a look at the district's cardiac response plan and many of the new requirements that were being placed on the district by the state. Something that was very good to see was everything was already in place. For just a couple of things, we had to make a few adjustments, but we had a very good plan. I'd like to thank all the building principals, everybody sitting down with me right before the school year. We were going over the building level confidential plans for each school. All those plans have been submitted to the state. Also, the principals, they're working with a new drill log this year, and that's something to help them just plan out the drills a little more effectively. At the start of the school year, it's been very busy, and all the principals and staff have been doing a great job. They're doing all the drills like we're supposed to be doing. I attended several drills throughout the district. One in particular was at Cherry Avenue, and I'd like to compliment Dr. Ryan and her whole staff on that. So we conducted a lockout drill. When we did that drill, we coordinated with the Suffolk County Police Department, the communication section. We utilized the rave app, and we utilized the lockdown system in the building. So everything that is in place and all the enhancements that we'd made in the entire district, it all came together and everything was working as it should be. So my compliments to her and her whole staff on that. And one other thing was just before the school year started, all the schools are issued the New York State Emergency Response Terms, the new placards, and the building maps for each school were also updated to show where the AEDs are and emergency shutoffs.
And I just want to compliment you guys. When we went through our building walks, we were checking every single door, and every single door in the district was locked and closed. And every once in a while, like in the years past, we might have found one or two. There were none. Everybody was following the protocol, and I just want to thank you because you were the person who was spearheading that, and I thank you for that.
Thank you.
And I just wanted to say one thing that I feel like has been a huge upgrade in security is visibility. I see Mr. Elderbaum everywhere. I see him at schools. I see him on the playgrounds. I see him, there was an issue with an athletic, team the other night, and, he wasn't on duty, and he was up there and handling it for us. So I think the visibility just upgrade has been obvious.
Yeah. And there was a situation at Cherry on the drop-off where we had a kindergartner who went for a run because he didn't want to go in the building, and Lisa Ein, Dr. Ein, went one way, and Mr. Elderbaum was there, and he went the other way, and the parent was there, and it all worked out. And it just was nice to see security involved with the buildings like that to help a child who just was a little confused for their first day of school.
Yeah, and I'll also reiterate with our building visit. I do go around and I check doors and see if anything's propped open. And like Dr. Farrar said, this is the first year there was zero open doors, and all closets, everything was secure, and it was a noticeable change. Thank you.
The test that went on at Cherry Avenue, where you were able to make sure that everything was in place, will that take place periodically at all the schools throughout the year, or is that like a huge undertaking that gets like
No.
a spot check?
We can do that at every single school. This happened to be the first one that I went to that we were utilizing. It was very early in the year. We're only in day 7 right now, or 5.
No, understood.
Oh,
Understood.
But no, everybody has it. We can all do it. It's just bringing everything together.
Yeah, I think it would be a good dry run. It doesn't have to be in the next 3 days, but like over the course of the year, just to make sure that everything we think is in place is is always good to check at least once a year.
So you may have noticed when you walk up to the building now, there's a new sign that's out there. It says, if you see this light flashing, we've activated our emergency response plan. So this was something, some people weren't even aware of the light. So we put this out there so it's a little more visibility. And if you're walking up to the building, you know that we're conducting the drill or it's an emergency.
I also wanted to just comment on the signs at the high school for the bus coming in by the gym. I feel like that's making things run more efficiently up there. There's not a bunch of cars, even though I used to like to go up there, but now there's not a bunch of cars there blocking the buses, or obviously if there was an emergency or something. So, and actually today there was a security guard there enforcing that prior to the game. So that was good too. So thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, I'll add. So when we went on the tour of the buildings, Desmond was actually the one that noticed at Sunrise Drive, kids were out for recess and there was a security guard out there. And that must be so comforting to parents. So thank you.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, and now Mike Flynn from Covert Security.
Good evening, everybody. And first of all, I just want to acknowledge the students with the ceremony in the beginning of the board meeting. Very touching and an outstanding job. Great remembrance. So I'd be remiss not to mention that. But I wanted to give, as the board knows, several months ago, the company started on an overall vulnerability assessment. We met in mid-May in executive session with the board to give a brief update. And an assessment is never done. So what I wanted to do tonight is give an ongoing analysis. And again, the thing about the vulnerability assessment, since it is a vulnerability assessment, what I talk about in public is a global aspect of how the assessment process takes place. And I think, Mr. Elderbaum and, the district and the building principals have made my life a whole lot easier when I come here, to give that update. The initial overview, was we gave a number of recommendations, and we do our assessment. We break it down basically into 4 points: the highly trained personnel, drills, planning, technology, and then infrastructure. And looking at infrastructure, out of those 4 those disciplines, as far as pre-K-12 security, we look at approximately 32 bullet points. The initial assessment, there was a number of recommendations, and the positive part about the recommendations really relied upon the part of, most of it did not necessitate a big fiscal expenditure. It had to do with recommendations as far as processes and things of that nature. And the district has done a very impressive job in a very short period of time. Things don't change overnight, because we talk about processes. It is a matter of fact, there's training and getting everybody acclimated to cultural change. I think it bears acknowledgement when the comment comes as far as the doors in the closed and locked position. And I do understand. I've been in the world of K-12 education security for the better part of 20 years after my prior 20 years. So I do understand the change in culture and working behind closed and locked doors. But inevitably, it is the cheap, the least expensive fix to really enhancing the safety and security. So accolades on that end. So these 32 bullet points were broken down. We broke them down in a way of red, yellow, and green. And initially, there weren't a number of recommendations. I'm very pleased to say that over very few months, that both the administrators and the staff itself, the teachers, have been wonderful in making a lot of these things happen. So Mike has made mention of some of the improvements on each one of these pieces. But I think it bears worth acknowledging what's happened on the technology part. And I know some of the board members were asking about some of the things that's been done on their end. And I'm a huge fan of technology, but it comes down to the boots on the ground, which is really important, bringing that together. The technology department, the board had invested a lot of money in some real cutting edge technology. And again, it was just about processes and putting these things together. Mike mentions the lockdown system, the SAVE hotlines, that active shooter hotline, direct to YAPANC to PD, RAVE, putting RAVE in the hands of many people who may want it. So these things were huge piece of enhancing the safety and security. Behavioral threat assessment, which we've been speaking about with staff members. A number of different items, maximizing and looking at utilization of AI and how AI can fit into your technology, moving forward with your technology on a very fiscally responsible way. And then, as Mike mentioned, ensuring the drills are practiced and critiqued. Drills can be inconvenient, so to speak. But one of the things early on that we looked at how the drills being conducted, and some of them, as I said, can be inconvenient. We call it drills for preparedness versus drills for compliance. And they do their 12 drills during a year, but making sure that they're thinking outside the box when they're doing them, and the buildings have been doing such that. And as an example of the latest drill that has taken place. Initially, when it takes place, everything may not go 110%, but the critique that takes place afterwards, so they can continue to do them at the remainder of the buildings in a productive way, is on the agenda for enhancing that. Talking to the staff about situational awareness and thinking outside the box, as I've made mention. Talking about budgetary considerations, so the district doesn't get in a situation where they've got a very robust security technology collaboration, but not having to come to the administration or the board and say, listen, this is what's need right now. So the district has it well thought out going forward. Mike mentioned some of the training, and when we spoke about it in May, March 31st, de-escalation and CPI training that was done in-house for some of the staff, AED CPR training on a superintendent's conference day in March, And again, I want to thank the security staff here because when we got the staff together for those 4 hours on September 2nd, it was refreshing to see the turnout. And you've got individuals in the security staff, a lot of experience. Some of them are retired only a year or two, and some of them are retired more than that. And it's as important if you retired 1 or 2 years as if you retired 15 or 20. Believe me, I know, because every day the plans are evolving. So we had a good day, good half a day together. We'll continue that, as Mike says, going forward. Our syllabus, which is it fits into the 8-hour New York State Security Guard syllabus, but it is specifically germane to K-12 security. So when we talk about the annexes and responding to emergencies, not just in pre-K-12, but how does it relate to Sayville School District? And that's the level of enhancement that's necessary. There's been things in the news out there about, and you just made mention, superintendent made mention about a little guy or a little girl who didn't want to go to school that day. Well, we spoke about elopement on September 2nd. It was, it's part of the conversation. It's part of our plan. We all learned a very long time ago. From my end, it was always about, keep the bad guys out, keep the bad guys out. We have to keep the good ones, little ones in too. So we talked about elopement and the responsibility of security as far as elopement. And those are the so we've got a number of things planned going forward. We want to continue to bring these things together. Talking about a tabletop, and Mike made mention about the plans. Plans, although there are dates that the state sets, plans are never done. They're always, if you say that September 1st, October 1st, all right, we're compliant because of, but plans are always fluid. And the state has continued to open up additional annexes, the transportation annex, as Mike made mention, the cardiac emergency response plan. So we don't wait until the next year. And several times throughout the year, we'll open up those plans, take a look at it, notify the state and make updates as need be. But that's just a good part of the process. The other recommendation that we made, and I need to acknowledge those volunteers on the district-wide safety committee. When I say volunteers, especially members of the board who sit there for nothing here and nothing there. But when you get a good group together, and it is a good group, but one of the recommendations we made there is talking about a potential subcommittee. I'm sorry, Mr. Bartels and your assistant superintendent being a part of that. But in a lot of places, they give it at the end of the committee, they give it to one person and say, here, put this plan to bed. But it should be a subcommittee, and Mr. Elderbaum, Mr. Bartels, somebody from Pupil Personnel Services who has that expertise in the mental health and the social and emotional well-being should be a part of it. And it's always good to have a staff member such as an English teacher on there to help us along in the process. Paul, you take it from the 20 down to 4, and it really helps the process along. So it's one of the things we are recommending going forward. But all in all, in a very short period of time, the district has really done a whole lot in a fiscally responsible way. So I just want to acknowledge on that. And there's been no impediments along the way as far as the recommendation process.
Thank you. Any questions for either gentleman? Yeah.
I just want to interject just because you mentioned about the PPS office. Recently, we had a leadership team meeting with all the district admin, and some of our PPS staff members, our social workers, did a significant amount of work. Mr. Elderbaum was there. They created a red binder. If anyone's heard of PREPARE training from the National Association of School Psychologists, our social worker put together an extensive binder that was reviewed with all the principals, each and every psych and social workers, guidance counselors. It will be reviewed with them, but it really goes through how to respond and how to prepare from a mental health lens when there is a crisis. And it's something that I would like to present to the board and the community in the future, but it's very detailed, and each principal is going to be going over that with their PPS staff. It outlines all the roles of a crisis team in each building and really mental health triage, not only prevention, but if we have to respond to something, any number of crises, how to do so. So it's something we're very proud of. A lot of time was poured into that, and just something that we're going to continue to expand.
Yeah, and I think it really dovetails nicely with the safety security plan, but also our instructional plans in the building. So thank you to the PPS department and the work that you guys did there.
Very impressive.
Yeah. Okay.
Thank you.
And just to reiterate re-recognized because it's September and maybe some of us were away on vacation. I want to congratulate the high school staff. They were named in the U.S. World News and World Reports as a top high school, top 8% of high schools in the nation, top 11% of high schools across New York State, and number 8 overall in Suffolk County. And we're just so proud of our teachers and staff and our students for working hard and being diligent and achieving this honor. So let's just give Ms. Bricker and the high school a hand. And next year we'll have a different slide, but we won't talk about it again until. Okay. Do you want to update us on just the color run?
I think just a reminder, it's our 5th annual color run. It's a really nice event, gets the community together to kick off a new school year. So just a reminder, Saturday, September 27th. So the week after homecoming, doors will open at 9:30 a.m. The run will start at 10. We hope everyone can come and enjoy. It's on the fields behind the Sayville Middle School. So thank you to Dr. Castoro, always a gracious host for these events, and we hope to see everyone there.
Thank you. Okay, so now we're going to just do a little review of the goals, because one of the jobs of the Board of Education is to set goals for the school district, and we have 5 goals. And I just want to do a little bit of a history of where they came from, and then each assistant superintendent will kind of review one aspect of the goals in their area. But if you remember, 4 years ago, we got together and we asked our staff, why did you become teachers? What do you believe in? And we asked our principals, why did you want to be a principal? And what do you believe in? And we asked our Board of Education, why are you on a Board of Ed? And what do you believe in? And we came up with beliefs. And we really came up with things that I think were meaningful to us as a Sayville community, which is we believe in our students. We believe in meaningful relationships. We believe every child has gifts and we should help them reach their greatest potential. And that struggle is essential for growth. And so these were kind of the tenets of what our initial talk to the faculty and staff was about. But then we wanted to dig deeper. So we did a 100-day study of the district, and we had surveys for parents, surveys for students, surveys for faculty members. We did focus groups. I think we had over 80 parents come in, and we had over 80 or 90 students and 80 or 90 faculty members in small focus groups telling us what they love about Sayville and what they want to continue to be great about Sayville and what they wanted to see more of. And from this, we kind of created our roadmap for our 5-year plan and the goals that we've kind of put in place over the last 4 years. And that led to these 5 goals, which were connected autonomy being 1, curriculum and instruction being 2, sense of belonging and inclusivity being 3. And I have to say we've done an amazing job with our teachers and our staff and our community on these goals. The 4th goal, which we're going to talk a lot about this year and make sure that this becomes something we're equally as proud of, is our fiscal planning and our communication and our transparency to the community. Within these 5 goals, though, I just wanted to kind of review each one, talk about where we are with them and where we want to head, and then get feedback from the board, because they're ultimately your goals, and then we aim for them for you. So when we kind of assessed all the data from the study, it really was clear that our community values student outcomes, so that when a kid graduates our schools, they should be able to really do these 6 things. They should be independent learners who know how to take responsibility for their work and get things done. They need to be caring citizens who support them and care about themselves as well as others in the community and in the world that they live in. They need to be effective communicators in writing and in verbal skill so that they can communicate in our world. They need to be effective collaborators, because that's what 21st century jobs require, with their classmates, with their teachers, with their parents, to advocate for themselves. They need to be critical thinkers so that they can look at information, see different perspectives, and make their own decisions about the world that they live in. And we want them to be joyful, because happiness and joy affects how you act, how you interact, and how you succeed. So those were the outcomes that parents, students, and faculty, when we synthesized it, kind of said that was important to them. So goal 1 is really about working towards those outcomes. And we call it connected autonomy, and I'll tell you why in a minute. But basically, we want our school, department, and grade level policies to promote these 6 outcomes. And if we work on this together from pre-K all the way through 12th grade, and that's woven into the curriculum that we teach, and it's constantly present in the lives of our students, we know our students will be stronger in these areas when they graduate and they go on to career fields, perhaps colleges, or the military, or whatever they choose to do in their life. They'll be more prepared for it. So it has to be present in our goals, in our department grade level policies. It has to be present in our unit plans and our lesson plans, and they have to be aligned with those outcomes. The assessments that we give, there was an old adage like you are what you eat. Well, you are what you test. So if we say something's important, but we don't assess it, then it doesn't really as important as we say it is. So are our assessments aligned with those 6 desired student outcomes? Are the instructional practices that are going on in the classrooms, research-based methodologies, aligned with caring and learning? Because we know that when kids feel cared for, supported, and safe, they engage in school, and then they successfully engage in academics, aiming for those 6 desired outcomes. The autonomy piece becomes really important. There we go. Sorry. Because, autonomy is our ability to make decisions and have a say in the direction that we run our lives. And so what all the research says is that when teachers, staff, and students and families have a say in how that education goes, which is why we appreciate and fight for local control of our schools, they are more engaged in that process. So autonomy is great, but you can't have autonomy on its own, because if everyone has autonomy and every classroom has autonomy and every building has autonomy without being connected to anything, then you have great individual things happening in each classroom, but they're not connected to a purpose that gets you over a 13-year period ready for the world beyond our public schools. So it can't just be autonomy alone. It has to be connected autonomy, which is where we take these 6 outcomes that we're looking for and we say, these are the things we're aiming for. How do you as a teacher, how do you as a school want to get there? And that's where our schools, each and every school, worked in their faculty meetings with their principals. And I really want to give kudos to our teachers and our principals who really led here, created their own focus aligned with those 6 outcomes. So at Sayville High School, they came up with the core: connection, ownership, resilience, and exploration. And they're building lessons and units and assessments aiming for those things and activities. At the middle school, they came up with their own thing, which was the path: persistence, accountability, teamwork, and honesty. At Sunrise Drive, they came up with the core values: joy and engagement, educational experiences, growth mindset, value and worth. And there's all kinds of detail and support that goes into that work. At Cherry Avenue, they came up with back to basics, and that speaks to collaboration, being independent learners, learning how to do the things that you need to do to be successful. And at Lincoln Avenue, they came up with Lincoln Learns, a culture of caring and family. Each, in their own unique way, has autonomy, but within a structure so that everyone's buying in and supporting what they're going after. And then the process that we go to advance ourselves forward is basically we identify what we value, what do we believe in, those things that I just showed you. And then every single time we have a faculty meeting, a department meeting, a grade level meeting, we make sure that we're doing professional development and we're working explicitly towards those goals and explicitly towards those outcomes. Otherwise, the goals just sit on a wall. And there's many districts that we know of, and many teachers will complain from eternity and beyond. And I was a teacher who felt this way back when I was a teacher. We always have these goals, they go on a wall, then no one pays attention to them, and then we move on in our own way in our own classrooms. And that's okay, but if we want to be outstanding, we have to be aligned, and we have to be purposeful, and we have to be focused. We have to go after it together. So the first step is that we identified our values and what we wanted as goals. Our second step was making sure that our faculty meetings, our department meetings, and our grade level meetings aim for those goals. And then the third step is that we supervise and we support, and that we make sure that teachers and staff get what they need to get there. And what I'm really excited about is the state has opened up APPR and has abandoned that system. So now we can create our own local system, and we can create an observation process and an assessment process and a supervision of teacher process that is aligned with what we value and aligned with our goals. And so when we go into the classroom, it will be aligned with what teachers are teaching and what we're aiming for in our faculty meetings and what we set out and created together. And so we kind of, if these things are in place, these 3 pieces: goals, professional development, and supervision and support, it leads to learning curves going off the charts for teachers, which then leads to learning curves going off the charts for students. And this is research-based, and this is a very successful model. And what you do is you keep on reviewing year after year and meeting after meeting. How did the meeting go? How did the professional development go? And we come back into the classroom, see how things are going, give support, and you keep doing that over and over again. And then at the end of every year, you revisit your goals, which is what we're doing now, and then you kind of keep going through the process. You're on a constant path of growth and development, aiming for better experiences for kids. And I think everybody can agree that we're all in this for kids, but when teachers have voice, when parents have voice, when kids have voice in what the goals are, it leads to better outcomes for our students in the end of the day. So this is what goal 1 was and continues to be, and you have that, and we can continue to work on this and build on it. And then that leads us into goal 2, which I'm going to hand it over to Ms. DiMiola.
Okay, so goal 2 was focused on curriculum and instruction. And the main objective in goal 2 was to utilize committee work to analyze our different programs that we have, K-12 across the disciplines, and make recommendations, collective decisions towards improvement and where we'd like to go next in each of those spaces. And I think a real point of pride in how we have been addressing and will continue to address this goal has been the very high level of involvement of faculty from across the district. Every teacher you see in the audience, every administrator you see in the audience tonight, and many, 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 many more have been directly involved in this work. And I'm super proud of that. And I think that speaks a lot about the kind of school community we have here. There were a lot of subparts of this goal, and we have really tackled these head on. For literacy, we've done a lot of work across the district, and particularly in the PK5 realm, to take a deep dive into the science of reading. What is it, and what instructional moves do we make that are aligned with the best and most current research? And really kind of teasing out the difference between instruction and curricular materials, and really kind of getting away from the buzz and the tension that had been surrounding that argument, and getting right down into, well, what is it? What moves do we make in the classroom? And so we engaged in a full faculty study of what that could look like. And now that everyone has experienced the same professional development, we're ready to move into the next stage of taking we realigned our scopes and sequences using a full breadth of materials that tackle all of the different competencies in literacy, and are going to take a good hard look at asking ourselves, how well do these materials help us to complete these best practices in instruction? And we'll be asking ourselves good questions about it, and then considering pilots if we're not satisfied, or considering just making sure we're making the best use of our materials if we are satisfied. So that's coming up in literacy. In math, we've made even better use of our Into Math products that we've had at K-5 by realigning the scope and sequences, writing common assessments. Several secondary curriculum maps have been written. A lot of nice work being done at the secondary level as well. And in a couple of weeks, I'll be coming back with a deeper curricular presentation, and I'll be able to fill you in on all the great work being done there. MTSS, with all of the groundwork laid in literacy and math, and all of the subject areas recently, we find ourselves now even better poised to take a good hard look at our MTSS system. More common assessments, more common instruction, more common language across the district is making it easy to stack up, okay, this is going to be a really great segue into a well-aligned MTSS program. And so now we're really excited. We've got our problem-solving teams all about to attend a training together using that Branching Minds tool that we have that captures the data, that allows us to use it as a monitoring tool. And with everybody on board with that, and agreements on processes and procedures surrounding MTSS, that's going to really tighten up our system even more than it already is, and expand into the 6-8 level coming this year. And it's just, we're really excited about that. And then science, social studies, and STEAM, work being done at all levels, but the major work has been in the next gen science learning standards. And so we've worked at every grade level to ensure a really solid understanding of the new standards. And people have gotten pretty excited about it. We're going to continue the work this year, and coming soon, we'll announce like a parent university night, which I think is going to be something that people won't want to miss. So we'll share more about that later. So a lot of alignment, and also, you know, it all ties together: social studies, STEAM, science. These subject areas have a heightened understanding of the focus on literacy. So nonfiction content area literacy is supported in these spaces too. Also in this goal was the request to kind of get a solid framework on board for curriculum mapping. And I really believe very strongly in this because this is where it all starts. If we can agree on a framework around which we design a course experience, you're building in a thought process for how every course gets designed and making sure the important things aren't forgotten. And so with this, and we've now have over 50 course maps that are underway or even complete at this point, with more coming every year, you have this this infrastructure that has so many commonalities that our kids can experience things that are more consistent across their years and across their disciplines. And with that system, it supports, we've built in a framework that incorporates strides, incorporates our building goals. Every discipline is thinking along the same direction. So that common framework, everything is really well articulated horizontally and vertically, and standards based. And then it promotes a thoughtful design for instruction and then assessment that's connected back to the learning objectives that we established. So all of it's it just represents a really well connected, cohesive system. So board goal number 2, we have tackled it and continue to tackle it because every step we take gets us ready for the next step, and there are so many more ahead. So we're excited.
It's Macris with goal 3.
Can you click all the, yep. So anytime I'm looking at a goal personally, I always want to say what's at the heart, what's the why, what's the principle behind it. So this BOE goal 3, sense of belonging and inclusivity. I also think too, you'll hear some similar common themes that Ms. DiMiola spoke about, which just talks about the coherence of all of the goals. So at the heart of this goal, at its core, it's creating a safe, welcoming, and inclusive school environment where each student feels a genuine sense of belonging. And I would be remiss not to say, just shy of 2,600 students in our school district, this is no easy task. And to me, I don't know if you ever reach completion of this goal because each and every one of those students are individual and unique. So it's ever evolving. And you always have to say, how is this goal going to be revamped from year to year, from day to day? Getting every student to have a genuine sense of belonging, it's tough, but we're going to work towards that. Go back. Okay. The district also aims to ensure that all learners, and this is connected to goal 2, regardless of their background or their ability, that they feel supported not only academically, but socially. And I really think this is embodied by our district-wide wellness program, Strides, and within our curriculum. And I just have that little quote at the bottom that relationships are always the foundation. If we think of a metaphor of a house, without the foundation, the house doesn't stand. So that's step 1. So how will BOE Goal 3 be accomplished? Well, that all our students have an equal access to learning, and they're respected, they're valued, they're seen. They foster characteristics of self-confidence, resilience, and independence. And when Dr. Ferris shared that slide about each school's focus, all of these, they might be said different. Maybe it's persistence at the middle school or connection at the high school, or back to basics, but they're all cohesive under the umbrella of our essential elements, and they all speak to one another. Something that I'm super proud of in Sayville is I speak to a lot of other districts or other PPS people, and I really feel that belonging and inclusivity is woven into our culture, our curriculum, and our practices here. Sometimes we can purchase an SEL program or an idea and it's an add-on. I don't feel like it's an add-on in Sayville. I feel like it's at the fabric of what we do. It's the DNA of our school district. When our teachers do curriculum writing now, as Ms. DiMiola said, there's a separate section for how we're getting those social, emotional, mental health goals in, how we're addressing special education goals. So it's really a collaborative effort. It's a work in progress, right? but it's coordination across all departments, grade levels, and buildings. Oftentimes you'll hear in education, well, that's the PPS office job, or that's the special education office job. No, it's all of our jobs all the time. And I think when you start looking at it from that perspective, that's when the true magic happens. And teaching methods are designed to promote autonomy, competence, and inclusion, again, meeting the needs of diverse learners. And key and at the heart of this goal is continuous reflection and improvement. So we have a number of committees that contain staff, that contain parents, administrators. We have student committees. We have superintendent roundtables, a high school roundtable. We've had roundtables at the middle school. So I think, especially Anthony too, I'm interested with this goal. I want to hear from you how we can do better, because the students, yes, they're at the heart of every goal, but this one in particular. So, but I'm proud of the work we've done, and I acknowledge there's a lot more work to be done.
Yeah. And I think we have a lot to be proud of in goals 1, 2, and 3. And I'm really grateful for the work of both of you and Ms. DiMiola. So thank you. As we head into goal 4, this is one that really requires our focus and attention. I want to just take a moment to thank Mr. Bartels. The last 3 months of working with Mr. Bartels has been very not only educational for me, but also relieving, because he has 30 years of experience in the field of school finance. And he's been just absolutely phenomenal in helping us to dissect our budget, dissect our finances, and really come up with a plan that is going to help this district and this community greatly. So I just want to thank you, Mr. Bartels, and welcome you. Go ahead.
Thank you, Dr. Ferris. Okay, so lots of great ideas in the first 3 goals and from all of our administrators about moving this district forward. New instructional initiatives, technology initiatives, capital improvements. But to do all these things, we have to do it in a fiscally responsible manner. The district has had a couple of tough years. And I think one of the most important things to gain out of these last couple of years is we have to shift the expenses and the revenues. So the last few years, we've been spending more than we've been bringing in. Your fund balance that you have in Sayville, even though it's declined by a great deal in the last few years, it is still a lot more money than I had in my previous district with a higher budget. So I had a smaller fund balance, but a higher budget. Difference was we try to get our revenues and expenditures about the same every year. You want to try to match them. So one year, maybe you pick up a little money, you can add it to your fund balance. Another year, you may have a tough year. You may have a high increase in health insurance, or you may have a number of high-cost special ed students you have come up that you weren't expecting. So you may take a hit and money comes out of fund balance. But in general, year to year, you want to kind of be fairly level so there's no big swings. And that's kind of the key, so you're not draining your reserves. And that's kind of what's been happening here in the last couple of years. So I want to try to level that off. We have to have a strategic use of our reserves. So what that means is we don't want to spend it all in the next few years. So there have been a couple of our reserves that we've taken big chunks out of. And one of them, for example, the Teachers Retirement System Reserve, this is the last year. You're going to spend the money this year, it's done. There's no more money in that reserve. So, that leaves another hole in the budget that has to be made up someplace else. So with the other reserves that we still have, I'd like to kind of try to cut back on using those reserves. Instead of using a big chunk, use a certain percentage of the reserve. So if you're only using a certain percentage of the reserve, it takes you a long, like if you're only using 20% of the reserve every year, 20% of the following year is going to be less and less and less. So you kind of wean yourself off that piece of it. And you can't use the reserves as an ongoing funding source, because you're just going to continue to drain them. You're never going to get back to revenues higher than your expenses. One of the ways we do that is we have to look at all of our available funding sources. So one of the things I've done right away is to look at our state aid, which is kind of key. And there are some different tricks that we can do to, not really tricks, they're just knowing where to put the money. So for example, I've used this example before. Part of my salary, I'm in charge of transportation. Take part of my salary, put it in the transportation expense, you can get aid on my salary, transportation aid. Whereas if it's just put in the regular business office code, you get no aid on it. So that's just one example. There are other pieces in transportation that I'm able to increase the transportation aid by just being very careful about how we enter our information on the state aid forms. You have to include all of your information. So part of what they do is they look at eligibility for students. They deduct a certain portion for buses that don't have eligible students on those routes. One of the ways we do that is we look at all of our students on the routes. If any of them are classified as special education, we can include those as eligible students. So we had not been doing that in the past, and our non-allowable rate that would get reduced was much higher than it needed to be. So I'm reducing that, so that should bring in quite a bit more in transportation aid. Also, we're looking at grants, any grants we can get. We just got a grant for $13,000 for a new oven at the middle school. We have the school bus stop arm program, which we had in the past. We didn't pick up any money from it last year. We have another agreement on the agenda tonight. We're going to get another $25,000 from that for this year. And then each year, if they want to renew it, we want to go back to them and say, look, you want to renew it? We want some money out of this. Reviewing all of our expenses, our expense alternatives. So consolidate busing. We were able to reduce a bus this year. We're going to look at it again as we go through the year. Will we be able to do it, but continue to keep the bus runs at low enough times where it's not going to disrupt families and so forth? It's not really an issue of having the number of students on the bus. I think we're in good shape there. Just the time it takes for the runs. So we're going to continue to look at those. Utilize BOCES for some of our services. When we purchase services through BOCES, we can get BOCES aid on that. If we purchase the service directly, we get no aid. So district has been doing that over the last several years. There's more things we can do to bring that in there. Energy performance contract, something else the district started prior to when I got here. That's going to start to generate some savings over the next couple of years as those pieces. We have the boilers at the middle school that were just done, so we're going to generate some savings on energy this year. That will also, with the solar, that'll generate some electrical savings in future years, and that'll be at all of our buildings. So that's kind of the financial focus of this fiscal planning, but there's other pieces. So we have a capital focus. We need to look at our buildings, how we maintain them, how we improve them over time. So some things we can do short term, we can get them through the budget. Other things would be longer term, probably have to do a bond to get those pieces done. We have to look at when that can be done. So we have, over the next several years, a lot of debt service from previous bonds that are dropping off. So in the next 3 years, we're going to have about $1.7 million in debt service drop off. So that can be used towards funding a future bond without increasing any costs to the taxpayer. You just kind of keep that line steady, and you'll have that money available for debt service for a future bond. You can use it for capital projects in the meantime, but if we are able to get a bond approved for we could do many projects with that. And as number, I know a lot of the administrators have different ideas for different projects they would like to do, but I think it's a good time now to kind of start planning for that. So over the next couple of years, maybe you'll have something you can do that'll address things longer term. But in the meantime, you can get a lot of short-term projects done with lower dollar values. We want to maintain and improve all of our facilities. The site work, roof repairs, HVAC repairs, that can all be done within the budget. Renovation of science rooms and athletic facilities. We also have to have strategic use of the tax cap. So what I mean by that is when the tax cap calculation is done, there are certain pieces that are excluded from the cap, and those are capital expenditures. So if there's items currently in the budget now that can be put in our transfer capital lines, which there's a number of different projects that we do each year. If we shift those into a transfer to capital line, it's the same amount in the budget, but it then frees up other portions of the budget, which gives you some flexibility with the tax cap. So it's it's not really an increase in the budget. You're just shifting where the expenses are, where they're coded. It would then count outside the tax cap and gives you more flexibility. So without increasing anything, you're going to gain some flexibility in how you can spend the rest of that money, which you can use on staffing and everything else. Next, instructional. Last piece, instructional focus. So again, when we're a lot of ideas to increase programs, but we can only increase programmatic staffing when it's fiscally sound. So you really have to be in a good position to do that. You don't want to add something or restore something one year, just have to cut it back the next year. So first, again, kind of goes back to that first piece. We have to get back to those revenues and expenditures kind of on the same line. Once you're back there and you have that, then you can start to look to add the additional things into the budget that are going to be ongoing costs. You do that with your increasing fund balance. That's the way to keep it so you don't continue to drain reserves. We're going to look at all of our resignations, all of our retirements for those positions. Do we need to replace that position, or can we do it in a different way or better? Is there a full-time position that's leaving that can be done with a half-time position? If one teacher leaves, if you have a chemistry teacher that goes, do you need to replace the chemistry teacher, or should you really look towards replacing that person with a physics teacher or a math teacher, depending on where the interests lie in the different programs? Also look at strategic programmatic changes. So look at our enrollments. Can we reduce or combine sections? Is the interest in one program declining where interest is picking up someplace else? Maybe that's a better use of resources. Students' interest in electives constantly changing what they're looking at. Students go to BOCES programs or career and occupational ed. Are there some of those types of programs that we can run here in the district to keep the kids here and at a lower cost? So there's lots of different pieces that we're going to go, and we're going to be doing that over the year. I want to put together a longer term plan so that kind of be followed over the next few years. But my main goal right now is to get those revenues back up and expenses down, so we're back into a even line.
Thank you. And the final goal is just communicating about what we're doing and being transparent. And we've kind of already begun that process over the years, going to Parent Square to effectively communicate with families. We just talked at the last meeting, and we're going to implement reorganizing our Board of Education meetings so that they're more efficient and focus on and transparent for board member discussions, where we have a planning session with full of discussion and then more of a business meeting that's full of business. Creating additional committees to increase community participation. There will be a policy committee. Ms. DiMiola will be heading that up, and that'll be starting in, I think, October. And there will be a budget advisory committee. We're going to be reaching out to those volunteers shortly to invite them to our first budget advisory, also starting in October. Great. And then we're going to share out Board of Ed meeting topics in advance so community members know what we'll be talking about and they can plan on coming to a meeting or listening to a meeting online. We're going to have the agendas available. We're going to put the QR code so people can follow at home or in their seats with the agendas. And we want to provide our parents, staff, and students with a clear protocol and communication guide, which we put out so that everyone knows who to go to for what, so they can get fast, quick communication and quick responses from us in a timely manner. So again, these are the 5 goals as we're proposing them. We're open to discussion. We do feel really proud in some areas, and we feel very hopeful and excited in other areas.
Any comments for anybody?
Yes, I have some comments.
Me too.
Okay.
I'll go last.
Okay. So Amy, I'm just so impressed with really everything you do. I was just saying to Christine, it blows my mind, like how you can just have a vision and bring excitement to the teachers and the staff and to us as a board for just revamping and bringing us up to speed with all of your organization and your visions and your just skill. So thank you. I'm very thankful for the work that you're doing. Jillian, I'm very thankful for the experience that you have and your ability to just know our students so well. And something you just said, the plan changes all the time and even day to day. that's so important for every kid because everybody can have a bad day and everyone's not the same. So I really appreciate you being able to see everyone for who they are and help with that. And then Robert, so grateful for you to come here and really give us these strategies and experience and different ideas, because I think the district has really been lacking that in the past few years as far as our finances. And I am very hopeful, as Dr. Farish just said, that we are now really going in the right direction. And I'm really excited to see where that takes us. So thanks you to everybody.
I appreciate the overview and the presentation. One thing that would be nice to have to add to it is maybe the milestones as we go along. That what we've accomplished, like Parent Square, that was a milestone. In each category, this way we can kind of document how we're doing and how we're moving forward.
Mhm.
That would be great.
Yeah, I'm thinking around February, we can kind of do
Yeah.
an update on where we
Yeah.
are with the goals, and then we do another one in June, and
Yeah.
maybe twice a year, kind of keep you up to date.
Okay, great.
Quickly, I just want to say something about Parent Square. I think in terms of making communication better, Parent Square is like awesome. I'm going to throw my mom under the bus really quick, but
She's
she
not listening.
is she's not good with technology, but Parent Square is very easy. She's like, if I need to know something, and she's like, oh, let me look on Parent Square. She's like, she loves it. It's very easy to like communicate with teachers. It's much better than email and everything. Keeps it organized. Like for me, for band, like football games, if we need updates or whatever quickly, Parent Square is very easy. I mean, it just keeps everything organized out of your email, like immediate news if you need it. Like you can keep it organized by who you want to hear from. It's very easy, I think. It's much better than a few years ago before we had it. It's very, very good to be able to communicate with everybody.
Thank you. Anyone else?
You want to go last? I just had a couple things. On the first one, the Board of Ed goal number 1, when we talked about the autonomy, the connected autonomy, one of the things on the walkthrough that I noticed was in the 3 elementary buildings, they actually all 3 principals spoke about the other 2 principals. And they spoke about how they've been in contact and they were working together. But yet you could still feel each building has its own vibe. And, they follow the leader, right? Buildings follow their leader. And so I thought that was pretty cool because, you could tell that, listen, there's always competition, right? That's just inherent in people.
Yeah,
and
they're
you
laughing.
want to be the best.
They're laughing right now. Jim's like, I'm not competitive.
Yeah, and you want your building to be the best. And I'm at a district with 5 elementary schools, and I always want to be the best. I get it, but I did love how that they were obviously connected and they were on the same page, and they did share a goal. So I thought that was pretty impressive. I did in Board of Ed goal, I think number 3. One of the most important things that I thought Ms. Macra said was that a lot of these things start with relationships. And I think that's one of the things that makes Sayville special is that our teachers are so visible in the community, and they're so out there, and they're willing to show up. And I can just speak for my son. He saw Miss Cameron, who was his speech teacher, and he saw her at a soccer game, and he could not have been happier to see her in public, and ran up to her, gave her the biggest hug, and wanted to sit with her and play with her and watch the game. And those are the relationships as a parent that you really look for. And that's when you drop your kid off at school, that makes you feel good about dropping them off. And when you're thinking about their day throughout the day, like someone like them is there taking care of your kid, makes you just feel better. So I thought that was one of the more important parts of her slide. And then I was just curious, Amy, I'm sorry, Miss Timiola, do we have a K-5? Like, what is our current K-5 reading program?
Our K-5 reading program we use multiple curricular materials to address each of the competency areas of literacy.
Okay.
So we're still using the units of study that used to be Teachers College, now is under the company called Mossflower.
Okay.
And that's for, a lot of the reading comprehension and all the skills that go into, the major areas of reading.
Yeah, I remember
It's
Teachers
support,
College.
you know it. Supported by Foundations for Phonics,
Okay.
Heggerty for phonemic awareness. We have a vocabulary program that is aligned with the units of study. So it was designed to support the texts that we know are happening in the units. So it builds a background knowledge very deliberately. We're using grammar programs, patterns of power. So we're hitting all the different competency areas, but we're using materials that had been used in the district, maybe in some places, but not others. And now what we've done, our reading teachers were just heroic this summer. They came together and coordinated everything into a really nicely laid out plan for each grade level, specifying what was happening when and how it was hitting every area and so no one had to wonder, are we using this material? What are we supposed to, what's coming next? So it's all in order. But a drawback, I think, to this that could potentially be overcome and a non-issue for people, depending on how this all feels once we're using it in authentically, or it could be something that is proves to be just too cumbersome, is the fact that we are putting together a bunch of different materials.
Right.
I don't think there's any one program that's gonna hit it perfect.
No, I mean, they
don't.
try, but
Yeah,
they usually
try.
fall short. They're
They
either a
market
mile wide and an
themselves.
inch deep, or a mile
Yeah.
wide and a mile deep, and
Absolutely.
it's a lot. I get it.
So
That's why I asked.
we're thinking about it, but we're pretty happy right now to say, hey, we know what we've got. Let's give it the very best shot that we can, knowing what we know, and then see if this is still going to be the best thing for our kids.
What I'm really proud of our teachers and Ms. DiMiola was when they went on this 2-year journey of assessing our program and trying to pick a program. They looked at pilots. They could have picked a pilot and just said, let's go with this. They didn't, because they weren't happy with any one pilot. And they said, we could probably we could do better working on our own to patch a whole bunch of things together and make our own program within the structure of other programs. So it's a lot more work that way, but I think it results in a better product.
Yeah, and that was one of the other things that I was going to bring up is that, Ms. Dinola always talks about, and this is kudos to the teacher and kudos to her because she must be putting together solid PDs, is that the staff is so into professional development and wanting of it and enthusiastic in the sessions, right? That is what you bring to us. And, that's another big thing that I think is unique in some districts is that the teachers really crave that professional development because they want to get better and make the product that they're putting out better. So that was it. That's all I had for that. Thanks, though, Amy. It was awesome.
I just want to speak to what Mr. Megna was saying about a sense of belonging and being comfortable with teachers. I don't think there's a single staff member in the building that feels unapproachable, right? Like Ms. Bricker and Mr. Hart, I see them in the hallway every morning. The principal is right there. You can just go up and talk to the principal. I'm friends. Literally, I would call several teachers in the building my friends. That's how close we are.
That's
and this
good.
year,
You're on the board now.
and this
before
year, we're 6 days in, and everybody's comfortable in class. It's you've been there forever. It's really just. I've never felt uncomfortable with a teacher going to class. It's nice. It's very nice just to know that it's a good person that you're going to class with.
Thank you.
So thank you. And just to piggyback off that, I think, my kids have been in the district now for several years, and I've always felt like they've had wonderful staff and curriculum and everything like that. So kudos to Jillian and Amy for doing that. But I'm looking forward to working with Robert on the budget advisory committee because we are in fiscal purgatory right now, but I see a light at the end of the tunnel, and especially with the bond coming up and stuff like that. So I think, Robert, I want to thank you for not bringing a shovel and bringing a ladder to get us out of this hole.
Anyone else?
You don't have to speak.
I just want to, I think it's a collaborative effort, and I really appreciate how everybody's working together to move it forward. I think it's great.
No, I don't want to not give you.
Well, I feel I must if everyone is. As always, I'm just really proud of Sayville's teachers, administrators, everyone. And it's, as I just said, thanks for sharing that with us, that you feel so comfortable. So that's most important.
Thank you. So I just had some things that I thought were constructive. So not only do we work off those slides that we saw tonight, but we also have a document that we work off of. And as I ran through the document, there were just some things that, I think that this is a living document. We're always tweaking and always looking to make it better and more responsive to what we're doing. In the beginning, there's a whole thing about our Sayville student outcomes. And actually, Mark and I were speaking earlier about how we sort of hit the nail on the head on, if you look at what the state just put out of the portrait of a graduate, how we really kind of were there, like ahead of them. So I don't see any lift at all for us to get there. I think we probably have what we have is better. There's some things there that I think we allude to, but I'd like us to sort of tweak and maybe emphasize a little bit more. I think that when we talk about independent learners and caring citizens and working collaboratively, I would like us to have something that reflects the idea of constructive feedback, and not just being able to accept constructive feedback and not take it like personally, but use it as a way for growth, but also to provide constructive feedback in a way that somebody could accept it and use it as a way to grow. Those are probably just a nuance of words. I think that we're there, but I just think it's important that we highlight that. I think that also in there, again, we sort of hit it, but really using the word civic mindedness. We don't actually use that word civic anywhere. We talk about community and being part of it, but I think that's really important to some of what's going on in the world today, and understanding what civics are and what it means to be civic minded and take civic actions. So again, we do allude to them. I just think it's something that I would like to see highlighted a little more. I don't want to go specifically through all of the goals. I do notice though, and Amy, I know you're one person and you're doing a ton of brilliant work along with your teachers, but we don't mention world language anywhere in that section with the pre-K curriculum instruction. And I also think that not only just world language, I mean, music is there, but I think we spent a lot of time in the spring with our community and understand the value that they put on things like world language and music. And I just think something about like developing and expanding expansion of our world language and music curriculum and expanding access to cultural experiences is something that we should really look. I know we do it, just think it should be highlighted in our document. And then the other one, the fiscal responsibility, Robert, you have been an absolute most valuable thing that happened to us, and I would like to clone you because I know that your career is not 25 years longer than it had been. But I think that some of the conversations that we've had, and I think also should be reflected in the document, is to identify possibilities for increases in revenue through the use of our facilities through outside organizations. We've kind of danced around it, but it's not really in there. I just want I think it should be. And I think that's more than enough criticism, not criticism, constructive feedback, and I hope it's well taken. For growth, yes, absolutely.
And since we are focused on the outcome of reflecting in growth,
Yes.
we accept it with open arms.
Thank you.
Okay.
All right.
All right, I'm going to end mine, but I just wanted to say before we end, we're all wearing T-shirts tonight that say 988 You Matter. That's because it's Suicide Prevention Month. And I just want to thank Trustee Van Dorn for providing them. I'm sorry, did I say Miss Van Dorn? Trustee Van Dorn? Whatever.
Yeah.
And also we are wearing the American flags for 9/11. So thank you
Yes.
everyone for participating in that event.
Okay, we're going to move on to board discussion, and I'm actually going to go back to Kathy for a second, because I know we mentioned it over the summer, Kathy, but not everyone's engaged like they are now. Can you explain a little bit about where these shirts came from and the great work that you were able to do on our behalf?
So, when I first came on the board, one of the very first meetings, I don't remember how suicide came up.
There was actually an incident at the tracks on off of Cherry.
Okay.
An adult was hit. Yeah.
Okay, and then I had brought up someone's name who also from Sayville recently at that time took his life by the train, and I just said, we need to do something about that, and I explained how, and I'm sure all of you know that in Bayport they have that very different kind of fence along the railway. So I said we as a board should try and have that for Sayville. So looking into it a little bit, Christine was working with me, and we were going different avenues to find out who could help us with this because it's so broad. And then finally I connected with someone through MTA, and she's the assistant director for government projects and safety, but it was back and forth and back and forth. And then finally it clicked, and a lot of back and forth and back and forth. And then Christine and I actually took photos of all the places that I thought were very dangerous, and they actually came out. Someone from safety, someone from buildings, the woman, the assistant director, and then there was a surprise visitor who from Rockville Center, who runs a non-for-profit organization because his son did take his life, death by a train. And well, we don't have the slides because in Rockville Center, they have these stones that are 4 feet by 4 feet, and it has this on here with a few words, and they're going to put one up on each side of Sayville's train station at the landing. So you walk up a few steps and it'll be there. And that's our first step. And they looked into the distance of the fencing, and it would be multi-million-dollar, which they don't have for that. So they looked into the specific areas, and we think they're going to be able to put that fencing in those areas. So that's where we're at. And the organization gave us these.
And I'll just say,
Yeah. So you know what, let me just tell you one thing though. When we were at the tracks and taking the photos, there were men there working on the tracks, and they were like, "What are you doing?" And we were talking to one, and one who was working stood up and he said, "You don't need to tell us your numbers are high."
He knew.
and the one thing that you explained the last time was that studies have shown
Yes.
that if you make someone aware in the last moments before they make that decision,
Yes.
that has a great impact.
Yes.
Yes.
And that's the idea of having the message at the train station.
Yes, because the gentleman, he did so much research after he lost his son, and that's how he started all of this. Because often the people will sit for a few minutes either on a bench. What is his name?
John O'Shea.
John O'Shea, thank you. Will sit on a bench and contemplate. So if we have this where they're walking up, and they're not going to be looking up like this, they're going to be looking down and read it. So
Yes, and 998, sorry, is the suicide prevention number. So it's like calling 911, but 988 will bring you to somebody who's in need. If they call that number, we'll bring them to some sort of counsel. We'll put them online with that. So Kathy, great work. I think it's something that
well,
we
thank you. But
needed.
you know, it's something else I learned about that, which is really interesting. Sorry. So if someone should call this number, it will pull in your number, and the area code will tell them where you're at. But what if you're on vacation? You're somewhere else. So they are looking into the technology so that they can really locate you, not by that. So
I just want to add to the number is also a crisis line. So it
Yes.
is suicide prevention, but it's any crisis
Yes.
that someone is experiencing. If they don't have access to mental health resources, anyone can call that number too and get help.
Thank you. So it is Suicide Prevention Month. It's also Drug Prevention Awareness Month, right? Islip goes purple. If you have not noticed, there's been a lot of purple lights and events going on. Jillian, Mrs. Macros, tell us what's going on here.
Yeah, I just a few quick updates. We did recognize Islip Goes Purple. Students from our anchor club at the high school helped spread awareness by hanging purple ribbons around the town of Sayville. Over the last 3 to 4 years, we have made very concerted and purposeful efforts to address suicide prevention. We have offered tons of parent workshops. We have a really great partnership with the Christopher Carluccio Foundation, who is a family from Bayport Blue Point. Also, there's a rep from the American Foundation for Suicide Prevention, Katie. We have a partnership with her. She's the Long Island chapter. Again, we have offered a variety of parent workshops. Also very purposeful in what we're doing with the kids now. Research shows putting hundreds of kids in an auditorium and speaking to them, that's not best practice. So when we bring speakers in, we're doing so in much smaller groups. So it's not a didactic type presentation, but something where the students can have dialogue. Most recently, at the high school, Mr. Calabrese and Miss Buckley, who are two of our social workers, had tables set up at lunch about 988 and spreading the awareness of mental health. And then at the elementary level, it's much more developmentally appropriate. We're not talking about suicide, but we're speaking to children about who's your trusted adult. And these are in small groups of 20 kids with the social worker and the teacher in the classroom, just so if you're not feeling right or if you hear something that upsets you, that you know who's that trusted adult in your building. So, and any community event we do, they're fun, but they also double as wellness fairs. So anytime we do a community event in Sayville, we have a variety of organizations surrounding mental health that come and table for our families.
So if I can just for a second, so this is the stone, as you can see, 4 feet by 4 feet in blue, and it says your pain is real in pink, in white, but so is hope. Call or text 988, suicide and crisis lifeline. In white, in pink, we're here. In white, we care. In pink, we'll listen.
Thank you.
I look forward to that going in. Yes, thank you. So Anthony gave us a little update on how the students feel about the cell phone policy, but is there anything we should know? I think it went rather well from what I heard, but do we have any feedback out of that? What?
Any feedback from staff?
Yeah.
Or-
The feedback that I have, and Anthony, jump in if you have any, was that it was a very peaceful opening, that kids were engaged with their teachers, that if kids needed to call their parents, they went to the office and made calls. I saw that myself. I walked into the lunchrooms with Miss Bricker and at the high school, with Mr. Castoro and Mr. Decker at the middle school, and kids were engaged with playing and talking and going to recess at middle school and hanging out in the senior lounge and the regular lounge in the high school. It seemed fairly pleasant and quiet during instructional time and buzzing during passing time. Do you have any?
So I agree with everything you're saying. Honestly, some of the kids that I spoke to said they like it better not having phones. It's just one less thing to think about, right? But in the senior lounge, now that we're phoneless, right? The ping pong table is broken.
Yeah. I've been alerted to that. Yes.
Mhm. So it's been a big complaint.
Yeah.
So I'm just putting that out there.
So I'm going to ask anyone in the community who has a ping pong table they don't want, please call Ms. Bricker. We also are looking into that, and I think we're making some repairs, but I would love to join you someday soon and play some ping pong and get some other games in that room, because now that you're focused on each other, you could do things together, right?
I just wanted to mention with regard to the cell phone ban, I've heard the same thing from my kids at the high school level. Definitely a welcomed improvement. I would like to thank Cabinet and Mr. Cowder on their agreement to open up email communication with those families that we're interested in. And it's my understanding that it's a very small amount of people that had asked, and that's good. If we can just give a few families some peace of mind, then I think that we've done our job for the day.
Yeah, I think it was about 21%.
And finally, I'd just like to tell parents they might need to start investing in some watches for their kids because nobody knows how to tell time without their phones.
We have the clocks on the wall, but they're counting by fives.
Yeah.
All right, it's been alluded to a couple times tonight, but we did a building walkthrough, actually walked through all 5 buildings on Monday. Would anybody like to make any comments?
I would just say that, once again, I mean, walking through the district, maintenance-wise, ground and maintenance, outstanding job. I heard one principal, like they said, the last week of the summer, it's a little chaotic. They don't believe it's all going to get done, but somehow the team gets it done. And I just want to give a big thank you and recognize the grounds personnel and the building personnel for all their work.
I just wanted to shout out, I don't know, I don't remember her name, but
Mrs. Moran.
Mrs. Moran, she was the STEM teacher,
STEAM, yeah.
STEAM teacher at Cherry. She was awesome that day. She was everything that you want a STEAM teacher to be. She was so enthusiastic, and I just asked really like a simple yes or no question, and she dove into like her entire curriculum, and I didn't want to leave. I would have stayed there all day with her, and so I think they have a winner over there in her. She was awesome. She couldn't be better. So I just wanted to shout her out.
Impressive.
Yeah, very impressive. Yeah.
I was worried you weren't going to leave, so
Gotta get to work.
told you that.
Yeah, I just want to say the same thing. Watching the buildings come together. I'm in K-12 buildings across Nassau County all the time, and it's always impressive, our buildings, how well kept they are. And even with that, the fact that there's always more work to be done, I think it's just the nature of a 5-building district, 6 if you include this one and the maintenance one. And also all the teachers who allowed us to come in and just enter their classrooms. Their kids were buzzing. Everybody was engaged. And it was, I hope that you are as happy to see us as we were to see you, because that's why we do this job, is to see what's going on in our schools. And it was a good experience. Okay. Anything else for board discussion?
Just one thing I just wanted to run past the board. Last year at this time, we had drafted a welcome letter to the community that we could put up online, welcoming a new person or whatever. And it's signed by the president from the Board of Education, just what we kind of like our goals and everything. So if Christine could update that, and then,
Are you giving me work to do?
Yes.
Yeah, I will do that. I will
And that's
share
a
it with
result,
everybody.
because what I was doing over the weekend, I was looking at the board website, and there was, some stuff that was outdated or whatever, and I was shooting some emails to, clean things up and, get everything up to date.
Yeah, I think that if we all have some time, and I know that our time is very precious, but kind of going through the website is really important, just to have critical eyes on it. Sometimes you go and you just look for the one thing that you're looking for, and you kind of forget that there's like a whole other world going on other pages. So I think as a board, if anyone has some time to kind of look through it with a critical lens, that would be helpful. And I will work on a letter and share it with everybody before we decide to use it. Okay, some fall learning opportunities. The Nassau Suffolk School Board Annual Resolutions Meeting is next week at 6 p.m. I know some of us are attending that. NYSBA's annual conference will take place in New York City. That's on October 23rd and 25th. I believe some of us are attending that as well. That's it for our board discussion. Before we move on to public comment, just if you were not listening or aware or caught up during the summer because it was vacation, we've changed the way that we've done things a little bit just to make them more efficient and in our meetings more useful, because there's so much information that we need as board members, and we want the community to have as well, to make good decisions, that we think there's better and more efficient ways to use our time. So we're going to go back to the idea of a business meeting and a workshop meeting. So this is considered a business meeting. Going forward, these meetings will be when we do student recognition and we expect more people. So business meetings will normally take place in a larger space We're still identifying which larger space that will be, trying to get the place with the best sound and visuals. So we're working on that, but by next meeting, next month, we will have that. Our workshop meetings are going to be more focused on specific either curriculum or issues going around the district that the board has asked for information on. Our regular business meetings like this one will still have its 2 public comment sections. We'll ask people to ask for a number when they come in, depending on which comment section they want to discuss. The first one will be about agenda items. Then we'll go through the agenda, and then the one at the end of the meeting will be for other items or additional items. On the workshop meetings, those public comments will be limited to the items on that workshop. We've also said that if people want questions answered, if you email them, and Dr. Ferris went through the protocol. If you go through those protocols, you're more likely to get your answer in a much more efficient fashion. But if you still feel the need to bring them public, if we have noticed that those questions are there, we could prepare an answer. If you just bring them up that night, we probably are going to have to wait for us to be able to respond, of course, depending on the complexity of the question. So with that said, I'm going to ask, did we give out numbers for the agenda section of public? Okay. So let me read our statement.
And for those of you who are home, on the screen on the right corner, there's a QR code. So if you want to follow along with the agenda, you could hold your phone up to the QR code and you'll get access to the agenda.
Okay. The Board of Education appreciates feedback from the community, and we recognize free speech as one of our fundamental freedoms. These freedoms are not without restrictions. We follow regulations specified by law and board policy as we encourage our community members to offer public comment. According to the Sayville School Board Policy 1230, we request the following. Participants in public session must demonstrate civility as they address the board. We've set 30 minutes aside for each session. The board reserves the right to limit or extend as we see necessary. Comments from the public are limited to 3 minutes per person. Kelly is going to be our timekeeper. If you do go over your 3 minutes and we ask you to wrap it up, it's not personal. It's not based on what you're saying. Is that 3 minutes is allotted to each person, and the fairest thing to do is to keep that consistent. Speakers are requested to identify themselves or their group that they represent, and we will not discuss any situation or topic that involves individual students, district personnel, or other community members. So with that said, who has number 1? This is for the agenda part of the meeting. The agenda part of the agenda. Yes.
Okay, I picked the wrong number, but I have one.
That's okay. Come on to the microphone.
I just have a question. Can we start?
Yes.
For the planning meetings going forward, it has to be, the public comment has to be related to the agenda.
Yes.
So we only have one chance per month to talk about a non-agenda item.
Yes, you can always send us, you can go through the chain of command or send it via email if you need something sooner, but yes.
No, it's not urgent, but I just think,
Okay, well, you are welcome.
Each session, there should be
Look, I understand you have a concern. You are welcome to bring that up at the comment at the end of the meeting, okay? Thank you.
I'm not sure. Okay, that's fine. So I wanted to start by thanking Robert for all of your information and research. I know the budget's been a huge issue and it was very educational, and I'm happy to see that we're making changes now instead of a few months before the budget, and hopefully this will lead to some upgrades that the school really needs. So I'm here for the safety portion. I'm here again. I don't want to be here again. I don't want to have to calculate how long it takes to get from my job to my children's school in case of an emergency. I don't want to have to figure out what family member is closest to home that day. And I don't want to have to take a mental picture of my children and what clothing they're wearing in case I have to identify them later in the day. 19 minutes. It takes 19 minutes for me to get to Lincoln Avenue from my job. And I'm lucky because I work close to home. Christine, at the beginning of today's meeting, you said that everyone remembers where they were 24 years ago today. 24 years ago today, I was at Lincoln Avenue in 5th grade. And the panic that ensued in every child in that school, because you could feel it, was tremendous. But school felt safe then. And we were there because our parents said we would be safe there. And as a parent, I can't say that I feel like that anymore. And it's not because of the teachers or because of you and everything that you're trying to do, but it's because I feel as schools are targets and they're unprotected targets. As I speak, or maybe prior to this, there was a lockdown at a military school for an active shooting. 2 shootings yesterday at schools, and that's just the last 2 days. I appreciate all that COVID is doing. I'm more concerned that it took COVID to push basic safety measures like locking and closing doors, but we also can't be naive to the fact that COVID is here because of the parents who stood up last year and begged for something to change. And I appreciate the fact that you listened to that, but I do think we need to do more. We're not taking advantage of everything that they have to offer. School districts around us are taking security measures and precautions to keep their schools and communities safe. And their children, while we're sitting in Sayville, like we're a bubble that can't be popped. I can't change national legislation. I can't change state legislation, but I can stand in front of you and say that I really think we need to do better. It is horrific as a parent to send your kid to school. I love this town. I do think that we're safe, but I do think that we need to do more. I can't imagine what some of these parents are feeling. And we're only in week 2 of school. I don't want it to be my kids. I don't want it to be anybody else's kids. This is highly alarming on so many different levels. Thank you.
Thank you. Was anyone else going to speak to this portion of the meeting? Okay, I'm going to move on to the actions of the meeting, and then we'll go back to public comment at the end. So 6, yes. Looking for a motion for 601 to 709. Motion Tom, second Kelly. Any discussion? All in favor? Oh, discussion, all in favor? Yes, sorry, a motion passes. All right, taking by itself, 7.10. Can I have a motion? Motion Kathy, second Desmond, 7.10. Yes. Discussion? All in favor? Against? Abstain? Kelly abstains. Okay, taking 7.11 to 7.14. Can I have a motion?
Motion.
Chris, second. Discussion? Go ahead.
So I've asked this before when we have surplus of items and we're disposing them of whatever, do we look into if other schools can utilize what we have?
In some cases we have, and in some cases when we know it's like something that no one's going to be able to use, we don't. But if there's a possibility, we would.
Okay. Thanks.
Oftentimes the material is so old that it's not even, nobody would even entertain it, right?
Any further discussion? No, all in favor? Motion carries. All right, taking section 8.00, 8.01, sorry, I can't see all of a sudden, 8.01 to 9.04. Motion? Chris, second. Discussion?
Yeah, one of the things that I was happy to see on there on the instructional schedules, and I guess the thanks goes to Miss Macris and Miss DiMiola, was the mentors for the teachers. I feel that's a move in the right direction. I know the teachers themselves, in speaking with them, they kind of have been doing this themselves for a long time, where they've been looking out for each other and mentoring each other and trying to make each teacher, young teacher, the best they can be. But I think this is a positive step in the right direction, because every new teacher, and I like some of the mentors that, it's some of the strongest teachers in our district when you look through it. So I think putting them in the hands of a veteran teacher, well-respected, that, knows the expectations of a Sayville teacher and that the community has of a Sayville teacher. I think that's going to go a long way to building the best product that we can build in the school. So I was really happy to see that up there. So thanks, Amy and Jillian.
Yeah, and I want to thank both of them for working with Geraldine Batterberry and the STA, because they spent a lot of time redesigning a handbook for mentoring,
Yeah.
doing a mentor training, and really buffering our program to be stronger.
Yeah, we had a committee of people, we had SDA members, Mr. Popoli was here, he was on it, some administrators, Dr. Castoro was on it, so we had a whole team work together.
Yeah, and we really were focused on, if we care about caring and learning, we have to make sure our newest teachers have that support as well.
Yeah, I just think, one of the trends that I hesitate to call it a trend, but I think one of the things that we need to really focus on is getting top talent and then keeping top talent and keeping them here and doing the best we can to keep them. I think Sayville recruits itself when it comes to getting top level applicants. I think we've seen that in some of our recent hires, but then we want to keep them. And I think that will help. I think that'll go a long way. So I think that's a positive step. So I was glad to see that.
Not to prolong it, but also too, I just want to mention Ms. DiMiola, myself, and Ms. Giganti today. We also started a new teacher series. So all the new teachers that were hired this year, we're meeting with them on a monthly to bi-monthly basis just to check in on them and touch on different topics. Anything they feel like they need help with, something we talked about goals for themselves or obstacles. So it was an amazing meeting. Kudos to all those teachers. They came so passionate and ready to have an open dialogue. So we were really excited. We don't have a picture, but we were excited about that meeting. So.
And if I read it right, you guys even set up mentors to mentees for perm subs and everything like that as well, right?
We
That's
have
awesome.
one of our teachers who's doing the permanent subs who are new as a group. And also something else we're really excited about in the new contract, mentoring used to be, it's New York State.
Right.
So it's a teacher who's in their first year of teaching. But because we said Sayville is such a special place in the new STA contract, you get a mentorship if you're a first year teacher as per New York State requirements, or if you're new to Sayville. So maybe you've been teaching in Garden City or Bayport Blue Point, but you're new to Sayville. So we also assign them a mentor because every district's different and culture is important. So we made some great enhancements and we're really looking forward to it.
Just real quick, switching gears. One of the things we're just passing is the retirement.
Oh, I was
Beat
going to
me
do
to
that
it, too.
last.
Oh, I'm sorry.
We
guys.
all want to
We-
do it. We're
I
beaming.
know, we want to.
Yeah, go.
Of Miss Julie Vaccaro after 21 years. Do I have that right? In the district, both working in the superintendent's office and then also as the Board of Education clerk. We just like to, obviously, we'll do this again in December, but we just want to acknowledge it now and say thank you so much for everything that you've done.
Yes. I always say every retiree always looks better, feels better, and is better.
And I also want to acknowledge that we had 2 donations of equipment. One in particular was apparently an antique desk, which I think was very generous from, I think, Melissa Lane.
Yes.
Yeah, Lane. So thank you very much for that.
Okay, I believe after all that, that's still open and we need to vote on those. Okay, all in favor? All right, motion passes. All right, upcoming dates, beginning of the school year is always busy. September 20th is the homecoming parade and the football game. The football game will be at 6 o'clock, and I believe it will be at the field behind the high school. No? Turf? Where is it? Oh, turf. Sorry, turf. Oh, major faux pas. I thought Ryan said that the other day. The pep rally, although not open to the public, is going to be the day before, which is always fun for the kids. September 23rd and 24th is Rosh Hashanah, so schools are home. I'd like to wish everybody a happy Rosh Hashanah who celebrates. 27th is the Strides Color Run, as Mrs. Macris mentioned earlier, 10 a.m. at the middle school. October 7th is Yom Kippur. I'd like to wish all the families who celebrate a easy fast on that day. And October 9th will be the Board of Education workshop meeting, which will take place in this room. We're also beginning to,
October 2nd.
October 2nd.
did I not say second? 7th, sorry, my contact's a little messed up right now. All right, October 2nd is Yom Kippur. And again, have an easy fast if you celebrate. October 9th, we're also gathering at this point PTA meeting dates for the year. And if we can try to, among us all, try to make sure that there's at least one of us there would be good. We can talk about that as it goes further. Okay, any other dates to remember? No. All right. Moving to our second public comment. Do we have people who have a number for that, Julie? I think we have one.
All right, thank you. I'll leave that issue aside that I alluded to before.
Okay.
But essentially, just the one session. The second session is the one where there'll be any topic is open.
Yes.
Okay. Leave that aside. I'm in a very somber mood, and I apologize for being a little bit late today. Was the horrific events of yesterday in Utah, was there any mention of that at the meeting earlier? Did I miss anything? No allusion to that whatsoever?
We did a general moment of silence to recognize 9/11.
Of course, absolutely. Okay. So that's the topic I wish to speak on today.
Okay.
As you've noticed, the flags are at half-staff throughout the school district, all government buildings at all federal, state, and local levels. Flags are at half-staff appropriately as per our president for a very tragic event that happened yesterday. And it does relate to children because the man who was assassinated grievously cared very much about, and congratulations, Anthony, I'll use Anthony's generation, Gen Z. He lived to help Gen Z and to further Gen Z. So that's why I'm talking about this today. I think much of the community is very, very upset, and this needs to be said. And at the end, I will ask for a moment of silence. I wrote a few words. As you undoubtedly know, free speech, the bedrock principle of a free society, was dealt a grievous blow yesterday, September 10th, 2025, in Orem, Utah, at Utah Valley University. A renowned, much loved, and greatly admired lion of Generation Z engagement was mercilessly executed while just kicking off his fall 2025 Ask Me Anything American Comeback Tour of college campuses. I speak, of course, of Charlie Kirk, the brilliant 31-year-old phenom founder of Turning Point USA. Charlie declined at age 17 an offer admission to the prestigious Brown University. Why? Because he sensed in high school in 2012 an ethos of self-censure in an educational milieu leaning heavily to one side of the political spectrum. This prevailing wind distressingly intimidated dauntless kids into de facto silence or reluctant strategic endorsement of this or that instructor's often ardently opinionated viewpoint on topics of culture, mores, history, or civics. Charlie instead elected to blaze a trail of his own, to educate himself prodigiously, reading the classics, with the ambitious goal of fostering an academic environment where all kids in secondary and university settings would feel at ease expressing themselves, asking questions, all the while avoiding social or academic opprobrium for doing so. During his landmark college campus gatherings, which grew from the tens to the thousands, students eagerly observed Charlie engaging their peers in good-natured, by the way, Charlie was always exceptionally respectful, debate on any issues they chose. In fact, his signature move was to advance those who starkly disagreed with him to the front of the questioning line. Turning Point USA has grown to have more than 650,000 lifetime student members. I have twice attended America Fest myself, its annual December shindig in Phoenix. These conferences are a venue to witness the best of our young people exchanging ideas and expanding their knowledge in a climate of unfettered thought and speech. So the shocking assassination of this American cultural giant is a direct assault on free speech, the foundation of a free republic. So with that in mind, I would request a moment of silence for Charlie Kirk. Thank you.
Okay, thank you for your comments. Okay, with that, I need a motion to adjourn. I don't think we have to go into exec session. So a motion to adjourn. Motion, second. All in favor, discussion? All in favor? All right, everybody, we will see you on October 9th for our board workshop meeting.